Welcome, everyone, today to Vision Untethered Conversations with my favorite inspirational leaders. My name is Jill Simons, and I have one of our fractional CMOs, Lexi, joining us today with Savvy Strategic Partners. We turn overwhelmed founders into empowered leaders by building businesses that scale beyond a single individual. We are a dedicated fractional leadership team executing vision, increasing business value, and helping founders realize freedom. We are so honored today to welcome our guest. Seth Spears is an entrepreneur, investor, and brand builder focused on purpose-driven businesses. Seth is the co-founder and chief visionary officer of Wellness, a B-Corp certified brand that is creating all natural personal care products designed to outperform conventional toxic alternatives. He's also a former digital marketing agency owner himself and also serves still in consulting for other growth based businesses and digital marketing and helping them build strong platforms as well. Welcome to the podcast today, Seth. We're excited to have you.
Thanks, Jill. Glad to be here.
Yeah. First and foremost, we want to know your story, your journey. What inspired your journey into business ownership and led you to choose this industry specifically?
So I consider myself somewhat of an accidental entrepreneur who always wanted to go into it, but it things never happen the way you expect them to, right? In college, my plan was to start a business and, grow something and sail off into the sunset. And it
Mm-hmm.
didn't quite happen like that. So it kind of happened
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more accidentally. So I don't know how far back we want to go, but I can just kind of give you a quick in a nutshell. The
Sure.
last real job I had, I was working in a university and as the assistant director of admissions, and I got really burnt out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a skill set around consulting because I was helping students figure out their college choices and helping to recruit students there. And I was homeschooled my entire life from kindergarten all the way through high school. And so that was
Mm-hmm.
something that most people they didn't know or understand about, especially in the collegiate admissions process. And so I work with a lot of homeschool students. And so I saw a need that I could go out on my own and do consulting specifically for parents and students who were homeschooled to help them prepare for college, figure out what they needed to do as far as to get accepted, to get more scholarships, and just have a better experience overall. So I went out on my own and did that for a little bit, and then realized just because someone needs something, sometimes they don't know that they do, and they're not willing to pay for it. So it wasn't that successful. But that was kind of my first venture into the world of online digital entrepreneurship. But
Mm-hmm.
from there, I got into building websites and for small business owners,
Mm-hmm.
doing web design and SEO and social media marketing, and I really enjoyed that. And around that same time, I convinced my now ex-wife to start a blog in the health and wellness space that I
Mm-hmm.
was using as a testing ground for my paying clients. And those tests worked really well, and it became a very big website in the health space, and became the largest health and wellness website and podcast specifically geared towards naturally and organically minded moms.
Mm-hmm.
And so that became a primary focus for several years. And then from there, we had tutorials on that website on how to make your own personal care products at home. So the toothpaste and shampoo and conditioner and deodorant. So all those things that we use every day, but often the ones that work the best are toxic. They have ingredients in them that are just not the
Mm-hmm.
best for us.
Right.
And so the audience over there, they really liked those products, but they got tired of making it themselves. So we kept hearing the same request over and over. Will you just make this and sell them
Mm.
to us? And so when you hear that enough times, you realize that that is probably a decent business because you already had an audience
Mm-hmm.
built
They're
in.
asking for it.
Exactly. So you could just
Mhm.
start a company around these products and make them and sell them to those customers. So we did that.
Ah,
And that's where
yeah.
Wellness came into play. So I launched
Okay.
that in 2020, and that's been my primary focus over the past few years. And I've had numerous other little side things. I still do
Mm-hmm.
some consulting. I started an outdoor equipment company as well. That's kind of my fun side project. I've done some real estate stuff. I started a
Wow.
network of bloggers in the health space.
Mm-hmm.
I've had my hand in a lot of different things over the years, as well as quite a bit of angel investing in the health
Okay.
and wellness industry too.
Yeah, amazing. Is there an overall purpose and passion you would say that pulls you in this direction to create what it is you've created so far and what it is that you do?
Yeah, I love this question. There's a couple things. I love the game of business. I love seeing how things can grow, seeing an
Hmm.
opportunity and that potential being realized. My motto when it comes to life and business is I've got a couple of them, but one is quality over quantity and
Hmm.
just trying to do the right things to really build and grow something. And whether that's physical products, whether that's content, whether that's helping someone improve their web presence, I just always want to do the very best that I can and create something that's amazing that I'm proud to put my name on and stand behind. Because if you're just doing it for the money, it's like,
Hmm.
okay, you can do so many different things to make an income or provide for yourself or your family. But if you're not making a difference and really creating something that's going to stand the test of time that you can be proud of, then why are you doing it? To me,
Hmm.
that would be incongruent with my own sense of ethics and doing what's right.
Yeah.
There's, I found too, working, obviously, I know you're in marketing as well, but getting to build businesses or for e-commerce brands off of what people are looking for or asking for always are the most successful, right? You're filling a need as opposed to creating something that, you know, people don't know if they need or not. But I'm curious to know, was there one specific, you've had your hands in a lot of different businesses, things like that. Is there one specific lesson that you've learned or one huge pivotal failure that you've had with wellness that has sort of shifted where it's gone or where it's going? Like any huge lesson? I'm sure there were.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, when I look throughout the past 15 years or so of my professional business career and the lessons that I've learned, and
Hmm.
in more recent ones, specifically with wellness, there's quite a few. One is hiring. Always hire slow and fire fast. I think that is a very big lesson that I've had to learn quite a bit over the past few years. Listen to your gut. Really trust your intuition. When we first launched the company, I hired someone who didn't feel like they were the right fit, but they were the best option that I'd received for the job. And because I had pressure from our board of directors to, we got to make a hire, we got to make this decision,
Hmm.
I made that decision to hire this person, and they were not a great fit. And they left pretty shortly after starting, well, within around a year or so. And it left things in very bad shape and really,
Mm.
really hurt the company, set us back by a couple of years just by things that had happened. Got us to launch, got us to selling products. And so set some things in place that were good foundationally, and also it hurt things quite a bit. So
Mm.
really trusting that intuition and my gut instinct around things, that's a big lesson that I've learned. I think also in conjunction with that is just because all the experts around you are telling you to do one thing, at the end of the day, if it's your company and your business, you've got to listen to that internal voice that you have, whether that's in hiring, whether that's in firing, whether that's in a direction that you're going, the type of products you're going into. The
Hmm.
numbers definitely play a role in what you're going to do,
Hmm.
but it's not the entire thing because sometimes we just don't know. I mean,
Right.
if you look at all the most revolutionary products, like the car, if you would have asked consumers back in the early 1900s, they would have said they needed a faster horse or maybe a bigger buggy, not something that got rid of a horse and buggy entirely. You know, they didn't
Hmm.
know, but they didn't know. So I think it is having that vision and realizing what something can become that you really have to pay attention to.
I love that.
So good, Seth. Yeah. Yeah. What are some indicators for you that as an owner, you may be too deeply involved in daily operations? And how does this limit the company's ability to scale and innovate?
So I'm not a big fan of micromanaging. I do my very best to give my team autonomy so that they can do their jobs effectively. Because when you're hiring someone, you're hiring someone to take things off your plate. And those people who are better at doing those things than I am.
Hmm.
But you know, it can go in waves where I'm either doing it all or handing it all off, and that's not very balanced. And so that's a constant lesson that I'm learning as far as where that balance is, because you also
Hmm.
have to inspect what you expect. And so for the past couple of years, I've been mostly hands off in the day-to-day operations of things.
Hmm.
When I brought in a CEO to run everything, and then there's a little bit of a transition happening right now where my current CEO is exiting, and so I'm stepping back into that role a bit more as I'm going through the hiring process. But just to get a
Yeah.
better grasp of the business and where things are, both in terms of the
Hmm.
finances, the numbers, our marketing, our operations, all of that. Because in order to be a good leader, you have to understand where everything is, and you have to have that communication with your team so everyone is on the same page and knows the metrics we're looking at, and if we're even going after the right metrics.
Mm, absolutely. Yeah. Part of it is, are we asking the right questions, looking
Mhm.
at the right things? What would you say about, I mean, having stepped back in, and there's obviously phases of that in the business journey as an owner, shifts in leadership, filling gaps in leadership, and really needing to build that foundational piece. How does it, if you weren't doing that and already in that mindset, have you seen limits to the company's ability to scale and innovate beyond you when, you're maybe reluctant to let go or provide support and get out of the way, like you mentioned?
Yeah, because I think what gets you here won't get you there, or what has
Mm.
gotten us here won't get us there moving forward.
Mhm.
It's kind of like that old saying, if you continue to do what you've always done, you'll continue to get what you always got.
Yep.
And, we are our own biggest limitation because you've probably heard the saying that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. And I think that's
Right.
what it comes down to is you've got to have
Mm.
a team around you and build out those people and give them the ability to make decisions and choices in the best interest of the company. And again, goes back
Mhm.
to inspect what you expect, but also just get the right people for the job, and that will help to grow things and push it further because you're limited based on our own time and skill set. I can't be the best at
Mhm.
everything. I've only got 24 hours in a day, the same as someone else does. And so by hiring the right people for the job, you're leveraging time. And that's
Mm.
how you can grow and scale.
Love it. Absolutely. Is there a leadership misstep that you can share that taught you the most about aligning your vision with
Hmm.
effective execution? And how did you apply that lesson to move the business forward?
I think I'm learning that lesson right now in this transitionary time. Um,
Mm.
with my outgoing CEO in realizing
Hmm.
that I was not as hands-on enough as I needed to be,
Hmm.
primarily just to give her the autonomy to run things. And so I could take a step back and I thought do the things that I'm best at, find the new
Hmm.
partnerships and more biz dev and things like that. But I also was not requiring enough communication and making sure that we were on the same page with things because I didn't want to step on toes or micromanage. But at the same time, at the end of the day, the buck does stop with me because it is my company and I'm the founder. And I have to make sure that my vision is being implemented, whether that's in new
Hmm.
products, whether
Hmm.
that's the direction we're taking. Whether that's in marketing and messaging and positioning. And so, yeah, I'm really learning that lesson right now as far as I dig into all of our numbers and where everything is, and just seeing that things could be a little bit differently if I would have been a bit more hands-on and, not trying to take over that role of what I had hired for, but also a little bit more collaborative and just yeah, just to make
Yeah.
sure that everything is
Yeah.
on the same page.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a common issue, right? Like, so for anyone else listening out there, any other
Hmm.
business owner that's realizing the same thing, maybe they are not as involved as they should be, or they're scared because they don't understand the different pieces and they don't know, what would you recommend they do to start learning so that they can be the right amount of involved?
Wow, that's a good question. I think it's going to
Mm.
vary based on the industry, based on the niche, the type of
Hmm.
business, the
Hmm.
size and the scale of it is. Hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I have a good answer to that because there's going to be so many variables there.
Yeah.
It's going to differ depending on all of those factors.
Yeah, that's fair. It's a lot of different
Yeah.
pieces.
For
Yeah, I
sure.
mean, like an e-commerce company like mine is very different than, say,
Hmm.
like a
Sorry.
local coffee shop down the street.
Hmm.
versus like a SaaS company
Right.
is different than like a local service business.
Yeah. Regardless of that, the diversity in a type of business, how would you say a business owner and a strong leadership team can design systems and processes then that allow their companies to thrive? Has there been something specific or a multitude of tools to design the systemization and the structure that has allowed, your organizations to thrive without your constant oversight?
One of the things that I think we've done well, and this goes back to my outgoing CEO, she did an amazing job at this, was making
Hmm.
sure that the entire team had set up SOPs for their roles. And we're
Sure.
constantly reevaluating those and updating and improving upon them just to make sure everyone
Hmm.
is on the same page. And so if any one team member were to get hit by a bus, then we could
Hmm.
hire someone in to replace them, and they could just refer to those operating procedures that we have documented and really learn their role and what needs to be done. And
Hmm.
especially as you grow and scale, because some of those roles can change, and we're constantly innovating and iterating and improving upon those. And
Hmm.
some employees, they will bounce around from one role to another. And so we get different eyes on things. And so we can add additional context and information within those. And that really helps.
Hmm. Absolutely. So, getting a bit more into the emotional, mental, psychological factors a little bit, what are some psychological barriers that you either yourself have worked through that typically prevent business owners from stepping back? Anything you're holding on to, or just psychologically that you overcame in throughout your journey?
Well, I can't speak for anyone else or those
Mm-hmm.
psychological factors that affect others, but for me, I think it's I don't know if like inferiority complex or just
Mm-hmm.
thinking that I have to figure it out or I don't have the answers, or thinking that everyone else already has it figured out. And I think that's shown up in my at times not willing to step up and say, no, we're doing it this way, and outsourcing some of that decision making to others. That
Mm-hmm.
can be a good thing, but often it can be bad, especially if I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. So, and
Right.
I think that goes back to just being confident in who you are and realizing that the business wouldn't be around if it would not have been for the decisions that I had made and the vision that I had and
Mm-hmm.
seeing what could be. So,
Yeah,
yeah, does that
It's
answer it?
it's trusting that
definitely.
gut instinct too, like you were saying, it's that
Hmm.
knowing
Hmm.
the horse to buggy to car is like you have a vision, you're trusting yourself and that you'll be able to execute it.
And that can be challenging when you're hearing no's from those around you. Maybe that's your peers, maybe that's your
The
colleagues, your board of
team,
advisors, the team, and they don't
yeah.
like it. But at the same time, you've got to trust yourself because if you
Hmm.
hadn't of, you wouldn't even have the business. You would not have even started it. So, there's always trade-offs, and that's just a learning process, no matter where you are in
Hmm.
life.
Yeah. There's something I've seen in teams too, and working with founders. I'm curious if either of you have experienced this, whether in peer circles or clients in consulting, et cetera, where there's a lack of belief. There's nothing worse as a morale motivational killer than the vision owner, CEO having disbelief that they can even accomplish that belief in that vision, belief in the actualization of it, belief that they have something and are providing something that can solve a real problem. Curious if either of you have experienced that where it's like you want to shake them and be like, do you even believe you can do this? Do you even believe that we can do this? I'm curious if either of you have experienced that. It seems more common than I thought.
Yeah, I think so. I've definitely experienced that. And there's been times it's like, do I even know what I'm doing? Like, I know I had
Hmm.
success in the past, but does that mean that I'm going
Hmm.
to have success in the future?
Right.
Who is the man that I have to become in order to get to that next level? And that's a tough question. It's like, what skill sets do I have to learn? What
Yeah.
internal blocks do I have to overcome?
Right.
how do I do that? How do I
Mm-hmm.
break through those? And that's a lesson I'm learning every day. And
Mm.
business and entrepreneurship really is the largest personal development system there is
Yeah,
because it
totally.
gets you out of yourself. It uncovers every insecurity and trauma you had. I mean, relationships
Mm-hmm.
do that as well. And as someone who's gone through divorce and had my life turned upside down, I understand that
Yeah.
very intimately. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but business can do that just as much and sometimes even more
Mm-hmm.
so because often we become an entrepreneur because we're trying to prove ourselves that I am enough, that I can do this, that I'm not
Mm-hmm.
this little insignificant person I was made to feel a certain way by family,
Right.
friends, like people you go to
Right.
school with, whatever the case may be. There's things that that knock us down. And so
Mm.
it's constantly just overcoming that. And then when you can break through that and understand who you are and your value and worth, and then that's when you elevate and hit the next level.
Like you're speaking directly to my soul, Seth.
I
So
know, right?
I think it's a marketing thing too. So I have my own e-commerce company. Again, hats and many things, and I use it as my testing ground for a lot of my e-com and my marketing clients. But
Yeah.
as Jill was saying, I had the same sort of struggle. So I have
Mm-hmm.
an equestrian jewelry line and decided
Huh.
to very niche,
Beautiful.
Very niche.
Like some
very
of
niche,
the, yeah, like
but
think untacky horse jewelry,
I
Seth.
didn't
It's
know
like,
horse jewelry was a thing, tacky or
so
untacky.
let
So
me tell you, and
color
obviously
me surprised.
this is not my
now you
podcast,
have to look it
but
up. Yeah, we have to
yeah.
share.
So I grew up riding horses, and when you grow up riding horses, you're a horse girl, and that means every
Mm-hmm.
single gift that you get forever is horse themed. And
Mm-hmm.
I love jewelry, so a lot of it was horse themed jewelry, which means it's horses, it's horse heads, it's a heart with a horse in it, like it's all, and
Like
it's that
ugly
over,
horse jewelry.
it's
Sorry,
very
but
kitschy.
When I think of
yeah.
a horse head, I just think of The Godfather and an offer
Yeah.
being made that he couldn't refuse. And
No, it's that, and it's the same thing over and over. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was ranting to my husband as one does like 2 years ago, and I was like, in my second career, I'm going to design a line, and I've worked with jewelers before, and so I understood that things could be rendered in CAD and printed in cast, and there's an easier way to scale than a lot of local jewelers do.
Mhm.
And so then I was like, and on top of that, all these other horse jewelry companies don't have a marketing side. So they don't understand search engine optimization. They don't understand social
Mm-hmm.
media as much. So I was like, I would just build it. I would design it this way. This is how I would launch it. And he was like, why don't you do that? And I had been working for myself as a consultant. I've been working for myself for almost a decade, but the thought of actually investing my own money in something for me was really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I
Mm.
always tell people, it is like being an entrepreneur is a trust fall every single day with yourself.
So that's a
Where
good way to say it. Yeah.
Very
yeah,
good way to look at it.
you're like, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
build this thing from nothing and hope it
Mm-hmm.
works. And then it does. And you're like, well, it works that time, but maybe again, and then it keeps working. And it's
Yeah.
yeah, it is the best personal development you
Mm.
could ever get.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it. Something you said too, Seth, just stands out. That initial jump is that first trust fall, but we're out to prove something at that point.
Yeah.
Typically to ourselves. We've had the thought. We say we accidentally fall into entrepreneurship. I would say the same. It kind of was sought out, or of various ventures on the side, and never really full in until starting Savvy in the firm. But it is that initial I'm taking a bet on myself that a lot of people say, that it's like I fully took the bet because we're out to prove that we can do it. But something beautiful in what you said is just the continual development that it requires to become. What is it that we need to become and requires of us? And I think a lot of entrepreneurs are missing the self work
Yeah.
and self worth. I mean, those kind of are
Yeah.
like working on ourselves is the way to grow and become who it is that next version of our business, the next version and stage of the relationships in our life are going to require and demand of us. We start
Yeah.
becoming that version and that future version of ourself. And that's exposing. That is vulnerable
Yeah.
every single day, to step into that and to realize like this is what this requires of me now. Like that future version of myself, I need to turn that on now, not 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So we're taking steps every single day to develop into another new version of ourselves. We're kind
Yeah.
of re-becoming. So yeah, I love how
Very
you put
true.
that. Like, who do you need to become
Yeah.
now, for our business and our lives and our teams to become their future version of
Yeah.
themselves?
I think that a lot of people get into entrepreneurship and business because of their own trauma or things that they grew up with. And so they're trying to prove
Absolutely.
themselves. And one thing that I've seen when someone does a lot of work on themselves, they ask this question: if I heal this part of me or I work through this, will I still have that internal motivation? Will I still have the drive to
Mm,
build and grow? And sometimes the answer is yes, and sometimes the answer is no, because it's
mm,
coming from a place of lack. And so you're trying to overcome that lack of not being enough or being too much or whatever it is. And so once you
mm,
smooth out those edges, then for some people, it's like, I don't need to do this anymore. I'm going to go do something else entirely, or I'm going to go teach yoga or something. Like, who
mm-hmm.
knows? Just because they've worked through those things. And others, it's like, okay, yes, I'm okay here. And now I don't have to do it to prove something. Now I'm doing it because I enjoy it, because it's fun, and I have built this skill set. It kind of goes
Exactly.
back to the old nature versus nurture debate. And I
Hmm.
think for most
Yeah.
people, like life is a combination of both. We were born into the world as like a something of a blank slate, but also I think there are certain things that we're born with as well, and that's how we show up. And then we learn a skill set
Absolutely.
down the road, probably because of those things that we came into the world with.
Mm,
And I think like epigenetics is something that's really gaining in popularity and learning a lot more about, and how things get passed down to us
yeah,
epigenetically from our family of origin and others, and things we've gone through, they've gone through, and so that
totally.
affects us, and
It
then that
does.
has a bearing and an outcome on the rest of the things that we do in life and how we show up. And so life is a constant relearning of everything,
Hmm.
just in general,
Yeah.
and that
Relearning
affects.
and even unlearning, like
Mhm.
breaking down maybe something that we've learned, or like you said, the carrying of something that isn't even it's not even ours to carry, like whether it's a fear, an insecurity, a lie within ourselves, a trauma of a trauma message may not even be ours to carry anymore. And so
Sure.
unlearning how we've adapted to fill that void, to fill a need, to fix something that's broken,
Yeah.
yeah, totally transforms the direction we head in from there. What do we even want to do with it? How we want to utilize it as a tool?
Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah.
But being happy in what we do, I mean, I think that's a key difference, right?
Mhm.
Sure, maybe your motivation changes or the decision you make based on your role in that specific thing might look different if you've healed,
Mhm.
but how much happier are we choosing the thing that we've built and created, perhaps maybe initially to fill a void, but now we're doing it for different reasons. We have maybe
Yeah.
a different mindset and purpose behind it. How much happier we are than just saying, well, I don't want to kill the motivation, but I'm also miserable, so nothing's good.
Yeah, exactly. And some people, they get
Yeah.
so ingrained in that state of being that they don't know anything else. And so they just have to continue on
Hmm.
because it's turned into a habit. And
Hmm. And their
what we,
identity, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Who are they
And
without it?
that can be the hardest part is what,
Mhm.
and a lot of people, they get to this point in life when they start questioning, who am I outside of this thing that I've built and done? And I actually think there's a
Hmm.
little bit of a difference between men and women when it comes to this, where women, they hit
Hmm.
this midlife crisis level. It's like, what am I outside of being a mom, being a wife, being this a business owner or
Hmm.
whatever? And it's like, who am I at my core? What does that mean? And
Right.
so, but women, they're just because of who they are, I think it's fine for them to question and evaluate that. For men, it's so ingrained what we do because we're
Yeah.
valued based on providing, based
Right.
on those things. Women come out of the womb and they're just accepted for who they are because they're cute and beautiful and all these things. Men's
Yeah.
value is based on what they do, what they're providing, how they're showing up, and so many other factors. So it's just a difference. And we can call it a double standard, but there are biological differences that have that effect. And so I think that
Yep.
shows up in so many aspects of life and business too.
Mm, so good. Yeah, I love that. I could
I
go on and on about that topic too. Oh, go ahead, Lexi.
Yeah. No,
Bring
I
it home.
what all this conversation is making me think too of, I'm sure I know I got sucked into it, but the hustle culture that comes along with entrepreneurship and this kind
Mm-hmm.
of like what we were talking about of this like if you're not miserable and you're not up at 3 in the morning and your days aren't stacked, then you're not doing enough. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if you've been privy to that, Seth or Jill, but just understanding that difference of like celebrating I think that's kind of what you're talking about, that initial drive to prove yourself versus that, okay, I find a lot of joy in creating and building something for myself. But have you experienced that hustle culture? And if you did, I feel like you have because you explained
Yeah.
that really well. So how did
Mm-hmm.
you go from realizing that that was maybe not the way you needed to build, and how did you transition into more of a joy focused leadership?
Yeah.
So I want to differentiate a couple of things here. So
Yeah.
in this modern age, we've got guys like Alex Hormozy and Gary Vaynerchuk. You got David Goggins and Jocko and some of these thought leaders who it's like hustle all the
Mm-hmm.
time, work all the time. If you're not up at all hours of the night working, then you're not going to succeed. I
Mm-hmm.
think they're taking
Yeah.
it to the extreme. Then on the others, you've got people saying that, oh, just live by your intuition and it should flow and be easy. And if it's not, you're not doing it the right way.
Mm.
Both sides have it wrong. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're going to be a business owner, there's going to be a suck. It's not just going to be easy all the time. You've got to do those things that you don't want to do, at least at the start, because you have to break through. That's all part of it. And so, but it's not, doesn't have to be hard forever. If it's just hard and you're working all the time and you hate life, then what's the point? There's
Yeah.
got to be a trade-off and there's cycles. You want there to be balance, but balance doesn't happen in a continuum. Like the average of something isn't where it's just flatlined. It's the highs, it's the lows, and it averages it out to find that level playing
Yeah.
field of balance. So I think we've got people on either side that are completely opposite, and they're both getting it wrong because
Yeah.
the answer is somewhere in the middle. There's a season for everything. There's a season to
Mm-hmm.
hustle and grind, and there's a season
Mm-hmm.
to vacation and take it easy.
Yeah.
So, and I've done both. I've been up at the highs, I've been at the lows. I've hustled really hard and worked, 80 hours a week. Then there's been
Mm-hmm.
times where I'm working 10 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think life ebbs and flows, and so does business. So it's just the equilibrium happens over time and not just in a vacuum one way or the other.
Mm.
That's so true. I was speaking to some college students about that actually, and they were asking about, working for yourself, is there work-life balance? And I was like, yeah, but not in the way you think. Like,
Yeah.
there's no such thing as a perfect job where you have the perfect amount of time working versus
Mm-hmm.
perfect amount of, and it's not a day-to-day, weekly thing. It's seasons. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, business and entrepreneurship are not for the faint of heart.
No.
It's not for the lazy. If you're lazy, go get a job, go just clock in at 9 and clock out at 5. Then you can go home and watch TV
You can
and
turn it off. None of the risk is sitting on
exactly,
your shoulders. If
exactly.
something comes
Yeah.
up in the middle of the night or
Not your problem.
you
Yeah.
can't turn it off. And there's this concept or misconception, I think, of like what keeps us up at night.
Mhm.
And it's not necessarily just the stress, the anxiety of it, but sometimes even just the magic in it of like we
Yeah.
literally eat, sleep, breathe, think, and if we catch ourselves in the middle of the night, it's no one else is in the business is going to be doing that. If that's not for you, it's a different rhythm, and we've never arrived. So when people talk about balance, it's like it's going to look different for all of us.
Yeah.
And like you said, Seth, the seasonality of it, you're going to just have grinds and you're going to be burning the oil sometimes from both ends. And then times where you're in a good pace and in a good rhythm, but something always comes up. Something will always come up.
Yeah.
So whether it's amazing and an opportunity and you're putting in what it's going to take to capitalize on that, or a fire is burning, or yeah, something erupts, right? There's always
Right.
something that's no one else is going to wear the pressure, the weight, and the risk in it
Exactly.
like we are.
Yeah, and like you said too, the buck stops with you. Every single person gets hit by a truck or is sick or can't do stuff.
Hmm.
Everyone turns, and no matter what's going on in your life, when it's your business, you're the last like you don't get to have those excuses. Like you show up
Hmm.
and you do the thing because it's your baby, it's your business.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Such good conversation. So, Seth, I'm curious, what role has cultivating a strong and autonomous company culture played in enabling your business to operate independently, grow? And then what strategies do you recommend to foster that sort of culture?
That's a really good question. I think I'm still trying to figure that out right now.
Mm,
I think at the end of the day, a company is only as strong as the people that you hire, as the teammates that you have, and getting the right people in the roles. And
hmm.
having strong communication and having hard conversations. I
Mm,
really think that the quality of our life is based upon our ability to have hard conversations. And
mm,
the more we put those off, the harder it is. The sooner we have those, then the easier it is. Because anytime you let conversations fester or you put off having those,
hmm.
there's this buildup that happens and it makes it so much worse. It's kind of like if you eat dinner and you don't do the dishes, you're like, oh, I'll get to it tomorrow. I'll just let them pile up in the sink. And you think that it's going to be the same amount of time, whether you do it right after you eat or if you let them
Hmm.
build up and then do it. But no, it's so much harder because the dirt gets
Hmm.
caked on the food. It sticks to the dishes, and then you've got to scrub harder, and it takes longer and use more soap. And
Hmm.
that's how it is with tough conversations and in business and in relationships in life in general. The longer you put those things off, the harder it's going to be. When you get that internal ping that I need to have this conversation with this person, or I need to bring this up, or we need to look at this, if you don't do it right now, it's going to be harder, it's going to cost you more, and you're going to regret not doing it. I've never regretted having a hard conversation right off the bat. I think I'm
Yeah,
going to, and I have to push through that internal
right.
block that I think we all get. But then when you do it, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I did that. As opposed to when you wait and put it off, like, oh, that was terrible. That was miserable. I should have done it so much earlier. 6 months ago is when I should have had that conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't
So
get
good.
easier. You're just thinking about it for a longer amount of time.
Yeah. That conversation over time is not going to get any easier. If anything, things may have worsened at that point,
Yep,
and that's when you realize like it would have been better had we just had the conversation sooner. Yeah.
exactly.
It takes building a culture of safety, trust, to
Hmm.
have those conversations too, relationship and connection with
Yes,
the team. So that's
very
vital.
true.
Well said. Well, Seth, if people want to learn more about you, whether it's wellness or other ventures or consultancy in the digital space, where's the best place to reach you and to get in touch?
Sure. Yeah, just on my website, sethspears.com. That's
Hmm.
kind of like my hub where everything reaches out from there. All my social media,
Great.
links to all the projects I've been involved with. And yeah, you can learn more there.
Great. Thank you all for listening. Lexi and Seth, great having you this morning. Great way to start my day. So thank you both for being here, and we'll see everybody next time.
Thanks, guys.